My wife, 22 female, and I, 22 female, got married a while back and started talking about having kids fairly early on in our marriage. I have ovarian problems and I'll need a hysterectomy in the next 2 years. So if I want to have kids myself, I have to do it soon. My sister-in-law dropped a bomb on us about a week before our wedding and said that she was pregnant with her ex-boyfriend's baby. They had only been together for a week when they dated, so we're already off to a rocky start. Anyways, her and the guy broke up and she's due at the end of August. She had a lot of doubts and contemplated giving up the baby for adoption. My wife and I explained to her that it wouldn't be possible seeing as how the baby's daddy already knows and would try to fight for custody before she could do that. And she does not want him to have custody for serious reasons. And then my wife said that before you put the baby up for adoption, we should offer to privately adopt the baby first, if you would be up for that. She said this because she knows that she still wants a relationship with her baby. Out of nowhere, my sister-in-law starts calling us selfish for even offering that. Whatever. We decide that it's not going to slow down our plans, and we start planning our family. I ended up pregnant a few months into trying, and we've just told our family. My parents are super excited to be the first-time grandparents, but sister-in-law's first reaction was, "Wow, I didn't know y'all were that selfish," and went on about how she's going through such a terrible time with her pregnancy, and that we should have waited, and now I'm distracting everyone from her baby. We explained to her that we couldn't wait due to medical complications, and also that we were just ready. She got even more upset when she found out we had already bought baby clothes and diapers, and stuff like that little by little. We wanted to be as prepared as possible, because she hadn't gotten that stuff yet, and we should have thought about her first. My wife's parents said that they agree, and that we should have done more to help her sister, and that 2 babies in the family is going to be a lot of stress. The difference is, sister-in-law is relying on everyone else to help raise the baby, while my wife and I have things under control. I feel like the only reason they're upset is because we don't plan on raising her kid, and we'll be too busy with our family. My sister-in-law can't keep a job. They try guilting us by saying, well, that's just what family does for each other. But I know for a fact if the roles were reversed, they wouldn't do it for us. I had this happen with both of my brother-in-law's wives. His first one was mad I got pregnant before her because I got married first, I should have a baby first. And his second wife was mad I was pregnant at the same time as her, even though I got pregnant 3 months before she did, and we had no idea they were even trying to have a baby. I can't stand people who think others should place their lives on hold for their own selfish reasons. You're definitely not the a-hole. What? Sister-in-law's unwanted baby ain't your problem. Sister-in-law in general is not your problem. No, you don't have to help her. It's her life. You've yours. You live your life. Start a family and cut the rest out. Their problems aren't yours. They're toxic and manipulative. Why are you thinking you're not allowed to get pregnant because of another person who ruins her life all the time? Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. It's not your fault or responsibility that sister-in-law hasn't got her own life together. Make whatever decisions are best for you and your wife, and don't let yourselves get manipulated. Me, female, and my, male, fiancé are in our 20s and have been together 10 years. Wedding is postponed. A's parents have no retirement plans, savings, and lack of financial planning. Every time money runs out, they've been very lucky receiving several unexpected fortunes, almost $500K added up, which has now run out. They currently rent and getting their pensions soon, probably their last windfall. I love his parents and don't care how they spend their money, but I'm afraid they're going to blow through it and be back at square one. I know they will turn to A, the oldest of 3 siblings that are still in school. A is really hardworking, but he's not earning very much right now. Something my wealthy aunt does is give her niece and nephews $100K as wedding gifts. I was the only one she didn't help with education or financially, so my aunt's giving me $200K. My parents are matching this with $200K of their own, both on the condition that it will be used for a family home, furthering my or my children's education, investment only. The spouses do not have access to this fund, even in case of divorce, so it's ultimately my inheritance. Normally, it's not disclosed to our partners until after marriage, but A now knows through my brother. Since finding out, A suggested using this inheritance to buy property in our name for his parents to live in until they're no longer around. I honestly don't feel right about this, as that's just not what my parents, aunt, intended it for. My older parents worked hard for their success and still work to give us everything, and I feel guilty for wanting to keep it for its intended use. I've offered to give $20 to $30K of my own money as down payment on property in A's name, but his parents have to keep up the monthly payments themselves, as I'm not interested in owning it. He wasn't on board with this. I would rather invest it all and get my own place as we currently live with my parents. My family's home is 2 houses combined into one huge 6-bedroom house. One house is in my name, and the other in sister's name. It is my parents' home until they're no longer around, and I have no intention of ever selling. Because of this, I have no interest in purchasing a separate property. I do want to use my savings, inheritance, to expand and build my mom's dream kitchen as a thank you gift while she's still around to enjoy it. My parents love food, cooking, and entertaining, so it's something I really want to do for them. I see it as an investment as I'm improving the family home that's also mine. I don't want my fiancé to see this decision as unfair. I want to discuss this with my fiancé, but I don't know how to not hurt his feelings, come off insensitive or not caring, doing more for his parents. I love them, but I don't think it's right that my parents, are paying to support them. I'm only prepared to go with my offer, as part of me also wants to force them to budget and plan out their pensions properly. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to use my inheritance to help my in-laws? Not the a-hole, but don't marry him. You have expressed several good reasons why you don't want to spend the money on his parents. But I also think that you're marrying into a family where your husband is going to expect you to contribute to the upkeep of his parents. If you are not okay with this, then you need to find another partner. Not the a-hole. I see a difficult road ahead of you in this marriage. The reason for this is that your fiancé has been conditioned to carry his parents financially and accept their irresponsibility. This is something you have to accept before marrying him. He will not change, and proof of this is his expectation that you should use your money to buy a property for his parents to live in free of charge and consequences. Another problem I see is you needing to justify using the money your family is gifting you to give a gift to your parents. This money is not communal property or earned together in the marriage, so he has no say in how it is used. Not the a-hole, but frankly, from the sounds of it, if you don't buy a house for them to live in, they will eventually end up living with you and A. My ex-wife, 31 female, and I, 29 male, were separated for a year and a half. As in, I moved into my own apartment. We were no longer a couple. She wanted to reconcile, but that wasn't going to happen. The reason we didn't divorce right away was because it would have been too expensive, plus a whole headache to deal with since she was very against it. My girlfriend at the time was just a temp at my work, but we started seeing each other. We fell hard for each other. Then, 9 months after, we found out she was pregnant, and that's when I decided to go ahead and file for divorce, to be completely cut off from her, so I can focus on my family no matter how much it was going to cost. My ex started this whole campaign around that time. Since my girlfriend was pregnant, she created the narrative that I had an affair and left her for the other woman. My parents didn't believe me because obviously they already knew I was living on my own. My sister was the only one who believed her because they were also close friends. We literally met through my sister. She didn't believe me when I said it, then didn't believe my parents, thinking they were just trying to cover for my mistake to avoid being seen as the bad guy. This divided us a lot, even if before we weren't in contact. But she was convinced I broke my ex's heart with my cheating. My sister called me a disgusting pig. On one occasion when she met my girlfriend, who was around 7 months pregnant at the time, called her a homewrecker, and how does she feel carrying an affair child? From there, we ceased all contact despite our parents trying to mediate. My son is 2. Girlfriend and I are living together now. Divorce was finalized last year. Now, she wants to meet her nephew and apologize. I was still firmly against that. My parents convinced me to at least have one phone conversation. So, yeah, she's sorry for how she acted, but now it's the narrative that she doesn't blame my ex for her reaction and is still somewhat on her side because in the end, I'm the one who broke her heart and got someone else pregnant. But apparently is willing to put that aside for my son's sake so they can meet. Oh man, that made me so mad it turned into an argument instead. I hung up on her, so I'm still on my decision to not involve her at all. My parents are telling me to stop being selfish for my son, and it's unfair to keep my sister from her nephew just for wanting to be a loyal friend to my ex. My sister is saying I'm being petty now. I really don't know what to think anymore. It's seriously driving me crazy. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She would definitely tell it to your kid when he's a few years older, to make herself look righteous when the kid is ranting to her about how mean you are for whatever normal parenting thing. And then you'd have to deal with the emotional damage to your kid and your relationship with him. Not the a-hole. You don't owe anyone anything. Your sister said horrible things to your girlfriend and chose to believe her friend over her family. I honestly would continue to explain how she hurt not only you, but your girlfriend as well with her comments, and hold out for a true and genuine apology before she meets your son. Not the a-hole. Your parents said that it is unfair to keep your son from your sister because she wanted to be a loyal friend to your ex. I ask, where is her loyalty to her brother, you? What about the comments she made to your girlfriend? Has she apologized for that? Hopefully down the road she will properly apologize for the way she's acted towards you. It would be nice for your son to have a relationship with his auntie, but she needs to own up to how she's acted and treated you and your girlfriend. My 29 female, brother, 33 male, started working at a new firm. He is working there because I asked my husband's cousin, 36 male, his boss, to hire him as a family favor. My husband's cousin owns this firm, so it wasn't a problem for him to hire my brother. Like 2 weeks later, my brother started telling me that he was attracted to his boss and found him handsome. My brother is bisexual, and when he found out that Jeff, his boss, is gay, he went crazy about it because he likes him. Here's the thing. My brother knows Jeff is married to Liam, his husband, and has a 4-year-old son with Liam. My brother thinks that as Jeff is nice and polite to him, Jeff is into him. My brother came to my house yesterday and told me and my husband that he was planning on asking Jeff out. I mean, I'm pissed off because he's talking as if Jeff was single, so I told my brother, okay, let's ignore the fact that going after a married person is wrong and morally incorrect. Do you think he'd leave his handsome husband who is an engineer and makes twice what you do, and who he has a child with for you? A man he just met. Come on, buddy. He's completely out of your league. He has a great job, a handsome husband, and a happy family with a child. If he leaves his husband, it would be for the better and not the worse. My brother called me an a-hole for comparing him to Jeff's husband. My husband says I'm the a-hole because I was too rude and made a big deal over a feeling. My mom called me rude on my brother's feelings. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your brother is a major a-hole for even considering breaking up a family, not to mention potentially tarnishing your reputation for getting him the job in the first place. Your husband is an a-hole for trying to spare the feelings of someone who cares less about breaking up a family than their own gratification and ego. Not the a-hole. If anything, you did him a favor. Not only is Jeff married, but his inevitable refusal of your brother's advances may also make things very awkward at his relatively new workplace. No one wants that dynamic. Not the a-hole. Is your brother being immoral and setting himself up for failure? Yes. Is it really your business that he's making a mess for himself? Not really, now that you've warned him. You've said your opinion. It's on him to listen or ignore it. Are you probably right? Yes. But you can't keep him from making mistakes, and some people only learn by making them. Some don't learn even then. Step back and wash your hands of it. It's a bad idea to get involved with anyone at work, much less if they're married. But that's his lesson to learn. For context, I, 28, have a biological brother, which I will call Roy, 29. When Roy was in kindergarten, my mother became really close friends with one of his classmates' mother. So close that she would tell us she was our aunt. Our aunt didn't have a lot of money, and she had trouble with her daughter's behavior. When Roy and me became 8 and 7 respectively, we had to move cities and we didn't have contact with them until we were all in high school. My aunt called my mother crying that she didn't know what to do with Daisy, 29, her daughter, and my mom offered to take care of her during high school. Both my mother and my father paid for her schooling, and they made sure to take care of her with food, doctor's appointments, phone, computer, etc. They never treated her any different than what they would treat us. My mother began calling her daughter, and even though she was only supposed to take care of her during high school, she ended up helping her with some college too. Now, this is where things become complicated. When both my parents passed away, my mother left a considerable sum on her bank account, and we decided to divide it into 3 equal parts, and she had bought a house under my brother's name. Each of us blew our money as we saw fit. Roy and me had already graduated college, but Daisy dropped out. A few months later, my brother moved out, and I decided to go live with my wife. Something that Daisy never forgave me for because she said we abandoned her, and she kept living in my mother's house. After 2 years of her living there and constantly telling us that we needed to take care of her, yes, I was dumb enough to give her money. We found out that she was telling everyone that would listen that she was glad our parents died because they were horrible and that she wishes they were suffering in their graves. While I admit my mother was pretty psychologically aggressive, she always had the option to leave. After we found out she was saying that, we kicked her out of my mother's house and sold it. We divided the money between Roy and me and decided that was the end of it. But she now calls me or texts me every few months, telling me that we are a-holes and that she deserves part of that money. Was I the a-hole? Edit. To clarify, there is no will, and the house in my mother's business was in my brother's name. Not the a-hole. Your parents, your inheritance. Splitting 3 ways was generous and kind. You supported her, allowed her to live in your family home, and gave her money. She took advantage, disrespected you and your parents, and is now being disrespectful to your dead parents who took her in. As you say, she chose to stay. She's grown entitled and mean. You need to change your number and step away from this. Decided to live with your wife? Not the a-hole. You shared the initial amount and only sold the house when you found she was talking crap about your parents. She got some of the inheritance, likely more than she was entitled to. So claiming you're not sharing now when you've already gone above and beyond is ridiculous. She just saw the gravy train as an easy life where she could demand money from you, and likely your brother at the same time, while living for free in your parents' old place. Her blowing through her portion of the inheritance isn't on you. Not the a-hole. The only reason you would split that money into 3 is that she was accepted as a daughter by your mother. This was not a biological or legal adoption bond. This was purely emotional. Once she chose to cast that away and spoke behind the dead, she was left with nothing. This is not too much to regret about.